Welcome to the Intern Whisperer, the show all about the future of work. Today's guest is Kunal Patel.
Hi.
Hey,
Nice.
nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited. You are the founder and owner of Brand XR, Orlando Game Space, where we are. We have this great background behind us over
Yeah.
here, Lake Eola, and Indianomicon, and the list goes on.
Yeah. I was extremely single in my 20s. And so I just had a lot of time for a lot of things. And, I wanted to give back. And I wanted to create something I enjoyed also being a part of and
Mm.
something I needed.
I remember, just as a little sidestep here, it's not in the questions or anything that we have slated here, but I remember being at Otronicon,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I met your wife.
Yeah.
Now, your
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but she wasn't then. And I remember when I was talking with her and I said, "So, do you think you're going to get married?" She goes, "If he's lucky."
Yeah, and thankfully I was lucky enough to, you know, get her to like me,
Yeah.
and she said yes, when I
I
asked.
like her because she's so feisty and she was
Yeah,
funny. She's spunky. She's all of those things.
totally. Yeah, I definitely needed somebody that was like better than me, keep me on my toes.
Yeah. And your daughter is now too, right?
Oh, she's like keeping us both on our toes. She's 17 months now,
Yeah.
and she's just like she started walking at 10 months, and she's just like at this point now she's had a lot of practice, and she's moving fast, she's climbing
Mm.
on things, she's like creating schemes, like she's like pushing
She's
boxes.
verbal too, right?
Well, she's not talking yet, but like saying a few simple things.
Yeah.
um but yeah, like she's pushing boxes and then getting on the box to then hop onto something else to then do something.
Hmm.
So she's causing
She's
mischief.
got a scientist mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's
So
say that. It sounds
definitely,
good.
yeah.
All right. So our show is all about the future. Gaming is big business, and like I said, we're really excited to have you here. But Robin prepared the show notes, so I'm going to let her kick us off with the first question.
Okay.
Yes, so let's start with the history and story of Brand XR. So, Kanal, you are the co founder and chief technology officer of the Orlando based Brand XR. Tell us about what Brand XR is and what are your products and services offered.
Sure. So Brand XR is a no code AR creation platform. So the easy way to think about this is, um, you don't need to be able to program. You can drag and drop, choose, set some
Kind of like PowerPoint.
kind of like PowerPoint, or even if you think about Squarespace or Wix, how
Yeah,
you don't have to be a programmer
true.
to make a really beautiful website. Well, we want it so that anybody can create an augmented reality experience.
Okay, so I was going to take us back and say, I know you said an acronym AR, and our listeners may not know what it is. I'm
Yeah.
glad you just revealed what that
Yeah.
meant.
So you're going to hear a lot of buzzwords out there in the world of like AR and VR and MR and XR. And that's the reason why we named the company Brand XR, is because there's a lot of different like acronyms being used for
Mhm.
basically 3D experiences. And
Mm.
VR is where maybe you're wearing an Oculus Quest headset and you're transported into a 3D world. Your entire field of view is fully taken to some other place. We're
Mhm.
transporting you to some other place. Augmented reality is basically putting 3D holograms into your real world.
Yeah.
So today, every person on Earth has an AR device, an augmented reality device, and that's their cell phone.
For real. I
Yeah.
never thought about that.
Yeah. So like if you think of your phone as almost like a window into another world where that you're putting your 3D objects into the world, that's what that is. So
Mm.
we know from our experience, our gaming background experience, having built out augmented reality experiences for big companies,
Mhm.
I know it takes too much time, too many people, like really expensive. It's difficult, and that needs to become a lot easier as we're moving into the future, where a lot of people need 3D,
Yeah.
to help educate, train, entertain, sell, market, anything and everything. So just the same way the internet spread, we believe that augmented reality and virtual reality and just really 3D as a whole is going to become the norm of how people make their decisions.
Oh,
And
I
if
would agree. Yeah.
and if that's not easy to do, then people are going to basically, we call it the oh shit moment,
Oh, yeah.
which is, you know, think of it almost like in the 90s when somebody went from the yellow pages, if any of the audiences even know what that is,
Yeah.
Right.
is going from the yellow pages to the internet.
Mhm.
Somebody was like, I don't understand why somebody would ever go to this tiny little TV and type www.something.com when they've got a full color page ad in the yellow pages. Like, people had that disconnect. And then
Mhm.
a few years later, if you didn't have a website, you were invisible.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see the same thing with augmented reality and virtual reality, is that if you don't have a presence in 3D, then you're going to be invisible.
Mhm. So I could see augmented reality taking what we do with video right now. We're doing Zoom calls, right?
Yeah.
And changing that. We would get rid of that, and then it would be more where we actually feel like we're present in the room with people.
Yeah, I think that's where things are going to go eventually.
Mhm.
And it'll be baby steps leading up to that. And the big companies out there in the world are working on all this tech, like Apple, Facebook, Google,
Mhm.
Microsoft are all working on AR glasses, like the
Mhm.
kind of glasses that I'm wearing right now, not like big bulky
Yeah,
like
Google Glass. Yeah.
things, but I should be able to experience AR. And we think that's coming in 2023 or so, based on
Right around the corner.
it'll be here in no time.
Well, we'll save that for the end when we start talking about what does the future look like. But the word XR, when I had first heard this, I don't know, it was like 4 years ago. Just the letter X meant experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So any type of, and when you say, your company is brand XR, is about the experience of reality. Period.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that and make sure I was understanding and
Yeah.
clarifying for our listeners too.
No, thanks. It's a learning curve for sure.
You, like I said, you have all of these different companies, and Brand XR is your newest one that's out there. But you have a co-founder. I did not know you had a co-founder until you told me that. I've always seen you as the face, and it kind of like when I think one of the other things when I first met you, you were with Fat Merchant too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so from Fat Merchant, you left there, and you open the doors here for Orlando Game Space and Indienomicon. But why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what is Indienomicon? What is, I mentioned Otronicon. Like, let's go through all of these cool things in
all
our
these different
community.
names and things. So, in Orlando, there's just so much talent here. There's so many, I would call it building blocks, Lego pieces,
Yeah.
To a really vibrant tech community that's here. And you have, tons of universities that are here that are top tier, focused on game development or simulation or space science or medical science, and all these different things. And there's big industry that's here. Obviously, there's hot travel and hospitality with the theme parks. There's sports and entertainment with all the sports teams we have here. There's obviously EA Sports, so there's tons related to gaming here. And there's 1,000 simulation companies out there. And then obviously NASA's 45 minutes away. And there's a place called Lake Nona, which is also called Medical City.
Yeah.
So there's all these different things.
And then don't forget, over in Osceola, we have another one that's just sprung up, and it's
so it's called like there's names for it called Bridge. There's Neo City.
Neo City, that was it. I was going to say Sim City, but I know that's the game.
Yeah.
But it's Neo City.
Yeah, and there's that's like a center of excellence for advanced sensors.
Yeah.
So you have everything. You have like automotive companies, automotive tech companies like Luminar here. The whole mixture of all these different things are here in Orlando, and that's really, really special. But over the past 7-8 years, like that I've been here, really active within the community, the things I noticed is that it's almost like the saying, connecting the dots. We spent a long time just identifying dots, and not all those dots are like connected. And there's community like as well that's kind of that was lacking. And really what I spent time on was making events, making meetups, working with other people that had that same vision. And together, we created Indienomicon. So there were 6 of us, and we did a monthly meetup, and then that ended up finding more people that we didn't know existed but are here locally. And it created really a sense of home
So what is Indienomicon?
So Indienomicon was a almost like an organization focused on game developers and specifically indie
Mm-hmm.
game developers. So it was definitely kind of tying into the culture
Mm-hmm.
of developers, and especially indie game developers are a special kind of crazy. That there's something very creative inside of them. They It's almost like you take a developer and
Mm-hmm.
you add a layer of like creativity and crazy on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and these people create games very quickly or in a way that you wouldn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain almost like an entrepreneurial spirit that does exist within these people, and it just I felt like it was an untapped resource. And there are people that are like, because they're only one, two, three people that really want to take over the world, they need resources.
Yeah.
And so just that sense of community and finding other people that also were in the same field, just that bit of meetups that we did every month. And then the game jams that we would do, which are
Yeah.
basically 48-hour hackathons.
Yeah.
Show up on a Friday, Sunday, hell or high water, you made a video game in a team. We did that, and we started creating a couple like industry specific ones too.
Healthcare.
Yeah, so
Health
indie,
Jam.
yeah, Mega Health Jam. So Mega stood for medical plus gaming.
Yeah.
And so we worked with Kelly Murray, Nina Talley of Health Innovators, and Rob Coble, also joined in to help, who, was at Full Sail University for a good number of years. And we created this hackathon where game developers solved healthcare problems and challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
we had subject matter experts, like we had real physicians and doctors and chiropractors and docs from California, um, Stanford, Harvard, like from plastic surgeons from Miami. We all had them come to Lake Nona Medical City, the Guidewell Innovation Center, and we produced 17 different
I
healthcare
remember
solutions.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a rush, and every year we would also do the same thing with the space industry with Indie Galactic Space Jam, and that was made by, again, like people from Indienomicon, people from the local,
I was a judge for one of those too.
yeah,
That Sean put on, Sean Abbott.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just really finding all of this different talent that was out here right there underneath our noses.
Mm-hmm.
And these events created a pathway for us to find each other, make friends, find talent to hire, find talent to work with, um, and find projects and contracts that are out there to help feed some of these new startups that were technically capable of doing things, but didn't have the resources to go and find all this work. So it's in a way like matchmaking for industry we had here that was looking for innovation,
Yeah.
and finding innovators that could serve that.
So I was one of the people at Indienomicon, and we took our Intern Pursuit game there, and we pitched it. And I remember when somebody was telling me about how to prepare. Maybe it was Chad. It was probably Chad. Um, no, it was somebody else that was in charge of it at the time, the meetup. And so we met over at Orlando Library,
Mm-hmm.
and we set up a table, and then I got up in front of the people, and I remember, we'll say it's Chad, but it wasn't, but had told me, okay, now we have everybody here from 6 years old to 90, and they will be brutally honest about your game, and you will get really good feedback. So you're going to know what you should, what you need to change,
Yeah.
all of that. And so I found that so valuable, because going to that, I'm a non-technical, a non-artist, and, none of those things. I just had the vision. I went, oh, let's have a game about interns. And we made that happen. And I love the feedback, because I had a 6-year-old, truly the 6-year-old, playing that game, and the library was closing down. They said, okay, everybody has to leave, but she was still playing, and she
Yeah.
liked it. And we had probably, I don't know, 12 people that came over and played at our demo station, wrote out a list of things that we needed to do. It was awesome. I
Yeah.
loved it. I hope Indienomicon is going to be making a return here.
We hope so too.
2021.
Yeah, I mean, COVID was definitely like a punch in the gut, to a lot of people, and it's tough, like especially when it's like, hey, it's an organization that creates events. where people a bunch of people are coming in together physically
Mhm.
is a change in what we were used to doing over the past 7 years. But
Yeah.
really, like, it gave us a chance to like take a breather, think about what is necessary for the next phase of Orlando,
Hmm.
because like definitely what we began 7 years ago, it's created things like there's like 40 plus studios and teams that we now know of that didn't exist back then. And so the needs of the community have changed over that time. And so now we think about, all right, well, now what do we do next?
What was
What's
the conference that you guys did also that was down at the convention center? I remember volunteering at that also.
so we didn't put it on, but we definitely helped out a lot with it. I want to say there was maybe it was Orlando IX.
Yeah.
So Orlando IX was put together by David Glass, really great, innovative guy here in Orlando that puts on like events to bring the tech industry, general tech, together. And gaming was a big part of that. And so
Mm.
we corralled a lot of the contacts that we formed through Indienomicon, and brought that as a showcase over there. And it's like every event is a new opportunity to meet a new person, a new studio, a new publisher, a new contact, um, and maybe that helps move the ball
Hmm.
further for one studio or many studios. Um, and it could be anything. It could be like, hey, these two people met, now they got hired at this studio,
Yeah.
or maybe I don't know, you met Mr. Monopoly Man, and he's like, hey, here's some money. Here you go. I'm
Oh, that would
investing.
be awesome, Mr. Monopoly Man. I want
Yeah,
him. Yeah. So I feel like that probably is what started here where we are right now inside of Orlando Game Space.
yeah. So
So why Orlando Game Space? What was your vision there?
so Orlando Game Space came out of a need that I ended up seeing out of our you know my involvement and a lot of our community work with Indienomicon. It was like, okay, hey, great, we're seeing each other on the first Thursday of every month, but what happens the other 28 to 30 days,
Hmm.
in between? And it'd be just stories we would hear. We're like, yeah, I'm working out of my garage. We're like, hey, I'm working all the way like in the middle of nowhere, and it's just the three of us. And so it was a case of like, all right, all these people are working somewhere in some nook and cranny that's out there, and they're so hungry for connection to these other studios that are all trying to do the same thing. And so the thinking is like, well, what if we just created more density? These people were literally next to each other.
Hmm.
Then when one studio is trying to solve something, maybe the other studio solved it a few weeks prior, and they could just share that knowledge, and now both groups grow faster. So
Yeah.
it was a case of trying to figure out how to lower the barrier of success, um, and just create, lower the overheads of
Yeah.
all these studios. And so if they could have space, you know, that was at a lower rate than everywhere else, and then you had the community that would be helpful to them right next to them, then that would matter. Like
Hmm.
that would make everybody grow faster.
Mm, yeah, I get it. And so, just so our listeners know, Orlando Game Space is this really big co working space.
Yeah.
It has meeting rooms. It also has this open concept where people can all work together as a community. But if you want your privacy and stay COVID friendly, you can also stay in an office.
Mm-hmm.
We have, we're right across the street from a lake. There's a kitchen. It's pet friendly.
Yeah.
It's very, very inviting.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, in a way, like maybe the easiest way to understand it is co-working, but that it's very specific to
A
your,
specific industry.
yeah, like, and not, I wouldn't say even industry, but like maybe the tools. So like if you're somehow involved in gaming technologies, then this is the place for you, because like perhaps maybe one group is working in the music industry but using the Unreal Engine, or another team is doing rapid prototyping for different industries and they're using Unity and Unreal, and they have 3D artists and things like that. And another group is working in healthcare, automotive, and they're doing simulations, using gaming tech. Another one is literally building a video game, that's going to be on Steam. And
Mm.
another one's building a mobile game. So like, they may be serving different industries, they may be making different types of products, or they may even have different services, but everybody's working in gaming tech.
Yep, yep. And some are serious and some are entertainment. So
Yeah.
we have all of those as options. Well, now we're over at Brand XR, and I
Yeah.
think you touched on that earlier. So why Brand XR and why you've been morphing, I think, more and more. So why don't you tell our listeners what Brand
Yeah.
XR is?
So in a way, it's almost like building a funnel and a filter to then like create more companies. Um, so, the Orlando game space couldn't have existed without Indienomicon.
Mm-hmm.
Indienomicon is almost like the widest part of the funnel. It's free. It's a free event. Anybody and everybody can come and attend, whether you're 6 to 96. It's for gaming enthusiasts, and obviously that includes game developers
Mm-hmm.
that are from our region, and they could be part of the simulation industry, gaming industry. They could be students. They could be anybody. Um, from there, maybe they're attending some of the game jams that are being put on, like Mega Health Jam or Indie Galactic Space Jam or Global Game Jam or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that tells you a little bit more about who's serious and who's not serious, and who's really funny and who's really terrible to be around, and who's gonna has the promise of being the next big thing. Like you just kind of see that as a almost like a fishbowl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then from there, you get to know like, okay, who do you want to invite into the Orlando game space? Because the Orlando game space is not necessarily like an open co-working space. You can't just be off the street and show up here. You kind of have to be seen in the community. We have to, it's like a no jerks allowed policy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we realize, hey, you're talented, you're great to work around, and you're complementary to a lot of the other companies that are here. Great, now come into the game space. Now you have a mixture of all this talent that's top tier and great to work with. And now you have all the elements to then maybe formulate a new idea, a new company. And so now there's a need to solve a problem with Brand XR that, hey, we want to make creating augmented reality and 3D experiences much easier than what we know is possible today. And how are we going to find that talent? We're going to look inside the game space where, and so it's like it wouldn't be possible unless you had like the funnel that was
Mm-hmm.
like bringing it all down here.
I bet you didn't even know you were making that as your vision.
No, I didn't. I wish I could say I was like, it's
Strategic, right?
super master plan from
Yeah.
like 7 years ago, but it was the case of like whenever there was a need, we tried to create that, and then
Yeah.
it just opened the door to the next thing, and we didn't know what that was.
So I know you spoke about this earlier a little bit, but if you have any final parts you'd like to add, how does XR technology have an impact on things like sales and marketing, education and training, product design and prototyping, as well as manufacturing and more?
Sure. So all of those things will have a need to work in 3D. And what I mean by that is it's immersive experiences. Just having a website that has a bunch of videos and information is not good enough
Not now.
anymore. Not now. And you think about information overload. I don't know how you are or how other listeners may be, but I am a tab fiend. I will literally have 25 tabs open in my
I have
browsers,
70.
right?
And I have 4 of those.
Yeah, multiple windows, multiple tabs, and it's because like we're constantly looking for information, cross-referencing with
Yeah.
this. We're task switching, we're moving from one thing to another. We're really very distracted people now in general, and we think it's being productive, but sometimes it's really tough. We're
It
working.
is. It's so hard. I don't even know. I sit here and go, have I moved the needle at all?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so the thing that we've seen from all the professional service projects we worked on, like we've done projects for Microsoft, for NASA, for a bunch of different clients, and building virtual reality experiences and building mobile AR experiences, and research that's been done out there on 3D and augmented reality is that they find that people's brains actually retain information faster and longer when it was delivered via augmented and virtual reality.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's incorporating as many of your senses as possible.
Right. And so when you have a flat 2D representation of something, your brain comprehends it, but only to a certain level.
Mhm.
And then when it's 3D, your
It's
brain
more experiential.
it's more experiential. And so we think that there's like 3 primary buckets that Brand XR solves, and that's virtual education and training. And that
Mm-hmm.
could be used for, like, let's say professional workforce training. Like, hey, you're a factory worker and you need to know that this is what this object looks like, and this is step 1, 2, 3 to work with it. And
Yeah, how to change something, some bolt in an engine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you could walk all the way around it, and it could be on your coffee table, and you could actually see how this is.
Mhm.
And you don't necessarily have to be in the factory or in the wherever, in the clinic, or whatever it is they're trying to be trained on. You can literally be in the comfort of your own home and see the real world object and know what
Mhm.
to do. And in the education side of things, like whether it's K through 12 or university, anything, whether it's a case of we're going to have a lesson on Egypt, and you
Mhm.
walk through a doorway into almost like a, think of it, a magical portal, and now you're walking into Egypt, and you're walking right into a pyramid,
Mhm.
and you can see things as they are
Mhm.
created in 3D by a game developer or 3D artist of whatever. But to that person, it's magic. I'm just whipping my phone out and I'm walking through a
Yeah,
doorway, and
and
now
doing
I'm,
like a 360.
yeah. And so that person will learn better. And then, so that's virtual education and training. The other is virtual brand marketing experiences. So that could be any number of things where somebody has, this is our brand and we want to show it to you in 3D. Think of like 19 Crimes wine. I don't know if you've seen that, where you hover your phone over the bottle of wine and then there's a character on there that tells you their story.
No way.
Yeah, and so what, there's things like that. So it's brand activations. Um,
Wait, I saw something like that at one of the starter studio when they did a pitch night, and they had something. It wasn't you though, but it
mm,
was somebody that had a virtual reality thing, and or augmented reality, and it was a shark, where
yeah,
the shark was coming out at you.
yeah.
Yeah,
So there's brand activations, like
yeah.
brands out there that want to show off in a 3D way, and maybe a little bit more related to this is virtual shopping. So think of it as try before you buy. So
Yeah.
maybe you want to buy a pair of shoes, a handbag, or anything, and if you could see that on your coffee table, you know before even stepping into
I'd
a
love to
shop.
try on shoes.
Yeah,
I'd really
Yeah.
like to know if those shoes fit.
yeah. So I think like
Okay.
that's the other aspect of like virtual shopping. So definitely apparent now in the post COVID world of, you don't necessarily have the luxury of going to the mall or to the shop each and every single time. And if a company out there wants to warm up their lead or their customer to say like, hey, you can see exactly the size, shape,
I think
look.
that would change the return policy.
There's data to
Yeah.
prove it too. So the furniture industry by a large margin has enjoyed this. Wayfair, IKEA, House, Macy's, they're all using this today. And the rates we've seen is it went from 8% return rate on average to 2%.
Wow.
And that's because, if you can virtually place down a sofa set and a rug and a painting in your home, it's more true to life instead of the perfectly staged, picture you saw on the website where that room was perfectly lit. The colors, the background colors were all unique. It looked good in the picture, but when
Mhm.
you actually bring it home, you know what? Your wall color is different. The rug you have is different. The other things you have in your room are different. And maybe it doesn't look good in your setting.
Mhm.
But if you can get it just perfect and see it true to life, um, using augmented reality, then you know what? There's no surprises. You
Mhm.
know what you're getting, and so they've definitely found the return rate dropped down to 2% from 8%, and they notice cart sizes increasing, so people are more likely to spend more because they actually see what it is.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I've seen a lot of, well, just to give a shout out, this week is ITSEC, and that's the
Wow.
training and simulation industry, and they are doing it all remote
Mm-hmm.
as of today. Well, it started on Monday, yesterday, so giving a little shout out to all of those people too. And I have always volunteered. I love going to it. I love being able to meet the vendors on the floor. It's like adult Halloween also, because I go
Yeah.
on Thursday and that's education day. And, it's like take everything off of our table. So you end up with, goggles. You end up with so much cool stuff that's in
Yeah.
that tech space, and it's a great way to nerd out and no costume required.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't look at you weird either if you had one on.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm missing ITSEC, but nonetheless, giving a little shout out for them, and they are in that training and sim space too,
Mm-hmm.
virtual reality, augmented reality. Um, you have a business partner. I'm going to back up to this one because
Yeah.
I've never known that you have him. Why don't we give a little bit of a shout out for
Yeah.
him too?
So shout out to Moody Matan, my partner in Brand XR. He's the CEO. I'm the CTO. Um, Definitely, I liken myself to the least socially awkward engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So I've through the years I've developed the ability to talk. Uh, Definitely, walk into a boardroom or a
Mm-hmm.
marketing meeting or something high level, business related,
Mm-hmm.
and still understand it and still communicate
Yeah.
well, and then go back and talk to the technical team and relay that in a way that they understand.
Yeah. You're a translator.
I'm a translator. And so like even when I hear it on the technical side, I now have to convince, or not convince or even just explain, to the other sides of business and marketing, why something is possible or not possible or what's an alternative or a workaround. So I kind of fit in that role, and so it's a good marriage because like Moody is more, he's not very technical, but he understands it and he's more sales and marketing, and I could at least talk to him on that front. And
Mm-hmm.
he's up in Detroit, um, and I'm down here in Orlando.
Does he come here much? I don't know if I've met him.
Yeah, he comes down, maybe like every other month, and definitely during COVID less. But we've always been, remote based company. Like hey, we're working on 3D and VR and AR, so we're kind of like, hey, this is just drinking our own,
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. So we're okay being like remote based company. But here at the game space, a lot of the technical engineering talent is here. Moody is always like wheeling, dealing, sales and marketing up there in Detroit, and so I'll fly up there sometimes. He'll fly down here, and we actually met in California. So he was in the Bay.
Was it a conference or something?
No, so this was it was a project that we were working on, and we needed VR headsets. And Moody had actually started a VR headset company that was based in the Bay Area, and so I just found him online. And then when I was there in the Bay Area, I met up with him, took a tour of the factory and everything, and then we just hit it off, like because we both realized we both grew up in Detroit.
Mm.
My childhood was in Detroit. He grew up there. So I think we totally could have passed by each other as kids and never known it. But we hit it off and had the same work ethic, and we had, the same vision on, software,
Mm-hmm.
being a solution to this whole coming platform shift and wave of AR and VR.
Yeah.
And then it was a case of like, hey, I think we should solve this problem, so I think that's like important.
So that takes us to this next question is, what do you think is the next or the biggest evolution from, well, let's take it back a minute. What was the first game that you ever played?
Oh my God, this is like going to be so embarrassing because I don't think of myself as an old person.
Well, a lot has happened in gaming in a very short time, so I don't think it means that you're old.
No, I guess right. When you think about like,
I mean, it's like what, 20 years? However, you can always go back and say gaming started with the first, dominoes, and they were rocks or checkers, right?
mm-hmm.
And so it started there, and then it moved into like, I'm sitting here saying, I don't know, I didn't ever have any of the a Game Boy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, I played usually board games or maybe some arcade games, and then also, some console games.
So I
Lara Croft.
Yeah. It's true that like the gaming industry and maybe just the computing industry
Mm-hmm.
and 3D industry is all like grown up at the same time.
Yeah.
Gaming has always been the thing that pushes the needle for computing, because like, why do you need so many more megabytes and gigahertz and
the
power? It's because you want to play games.
Mm-hmm.
They had spreadsheets and word editors in the 80s, right? And so if they had spreadsheets and word editors in the 80s, how much more power did you need to have like a faster spreadsheet? I mean, like you didn't need that much, but you needed better 3D graphics, to play this game. And that's why, you would see advancements from AMD and NVIDIA and Intel. So that's what kind of push the industry forward.
So, how does the virtual reality help different businesses with things such as like giving tours, whether it's in real estate or a campus tour,
Hmm.
Do you
or
have that here? A virtual tour?
Oh, we kind of do, but we should be drinking more of our Kool-Aid, I think.
Yeah.
We have some 360 photos of the Orlando game space where you can kind of like virtually hop to different areas. So that's a form of being more immersive.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely more that we could do, like creating a 3D scan of the entire place so you could virtually walk into this place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think there's tons that businesses can do out there, and sometimes it's custom to their industry or things that are good, better, best, or easier or harder to do. um so we are doing engagements like with BrandXR, and that companies can sign up to get basically a brainstorming session with us, and we will come up with ideas on how to make their business more innovative, and what are AR and VR use cases that would actually bring a greater ROI to them, return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to us at BrandXR. We don't want to do things that are just cool for the sake of being cool,
Mm-hmm.
because definitely coming from a gaming background, there's tons that we can do are just cool, but we realize that in doing something, if it can help them train better, educate better, sell better, like all that stuff matters. And that's actually what's going to help them push it more. And then
Mm-hmm.
their users and customers use it more. So we try to think of everything holistically. Um, but some basic ideas out there. Imagine you're a hotel or a resort or something in the hospitality industry, which is big here in Orlando. Well, there's people out there trying to decide, am I going to be in this hotel room or that hotel room? And rather than have 20 tabs open trying to look at different pictures or look at reviews of this or that, what if they could straight up walk into that hotel room, look around, swipe right, now they're in the next hotel room that's maybe a little bit bigger, and they see, oh whoa, it's only $20 more, no brainer, I'm going to hit buy.
Yeah. Or
If
you get the view, you know?
Or you get the view,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I care about the ocean view, or I care about this view of the forest. I'm going to pay the premium on that. I'm going to hit buy.
Yeah.
Or you realize, I could care less. I'm just here to I'm here for a conference. I just need a place to sleep. I'm going to go with this option. This is good enough for me.
Yeah.
And so that bit of experience shortens that buying decision, and it makes it a lot easier. Like, I go crazy looking at 20 tabs trying to figure out, did I get the best deal or not? But if I have the right feeling, I'm going to make my choice. And even at a vacation level, it's like, not that Florida has we've definitely got beaches close by, but like, let's say I try to decide, am I going to go to the mountains or am I going to go to the beach for a family vacation?
I could see this actually changing um, some of how the entertainment industry has been, hit. So, for example, Disney and Universal,
Mm-hmm.
if they had augmented reality rides, people could vacation from their home
Yeah.
and go through, any of your haunted mansion, if you will,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do. And that would probably make it more affordable for most people versus the privilege. And it becomes, that's where the difference is. I think
Yeah.
the privilege is being able to be there in person versus, through an augmented experience.
I think if you can give a sample, a taste of what it's like to be there,
Mm-hmm.
then, it's a case of people will know, what, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to spend my hard-earned money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a great time. And I know this and I feel this because I got a taste of it, in 3D. Like, I got the try before I buy type of experience. And that could be going to a place, getting a tour of a place, knowing whether this is the product I want, whether I'm going to buy a sofa and knowing that, oh, it actually fits in my living room, or like, whoa, this was actually way bigger than I thought. Glad I didn't make that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to help people hopefully have less analysis paralysis.
Yeah, I can see that.
And they make the right choices for either entertainment or to purchase things. And it's going to help businesses be able to really get to their customers in a more personal way. In a way, it's so strange. Like, you're only becoming more digital, but like when you start tapping into the real feeling of like being there or working with something, and don't you can't necessarily do that, either due to COVID or just by the way people are going to behave now and in the future. um, this is really helping both sides out,
Mhm.
and that's definitely what we care about, is how to make that happen much more easily.
Everything, I'll wake up in the morning and go, oh, look, there's a new update on some social channel. Oh, they just changed this on YouTube, and I'm sitting here going, what just happened? And you're trying to navigate the dashboard and figure out some of those intricacies of using the platform. But then there's also other things that, I get a lot of emails and it say, oh, well, start looking for this. And we do have augmented reality here and you can do it. That again is one of the reasons why I love going to ITSEC,
Hmm.
because you get to see the latest stuff that's out there.
Yeah, the thing is, like, this is something I heard a while back. I don't even remember who told me this, but I definitely, like, say it wherever I can. It's that the future is already here. It's just not widely distributed.
That is true.
And places like ITSEC is where you can see a bit of the future. It's just not there readily accessible to everybody.
Yeah. So they had this one last year, one experience so that I would be able to know what it was like to be inside of the helicopter. So I step onto their platform and it's already vibrating like, the engine of a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, holy cow, you can feel that. And then there's this giant movie screen that's like all around me. And it starts, the movie, I'll call it a movie, but the video, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it starts. And then when it's beginning to, like, the helicopter's moving around like this, I'm going, holy cow, I'm like moving. And I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that it was really feeling very immersive.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some wind that was blowing on me also. So
Yeah.
they made it very experiential.
Yeah, there's a scientific way to look at like how we behave,
Yeah.
and there's the thinking of it almost like as like magical of we are animals, and we response to we have a response to stimuli, and if enough of our senses are touched on, our brain, no matter how much we know that this is not real, will begin to just say, hey, I'm there. This is what I'm experiencing. And when you can do that, um, you just kind of forget. It's just like in video games, right? Like, you know that this is not real, but you can get lost. Just like you can get lost in a book, you can get lost in a great movie, you can get lost in a video game, and you can envision that you are that hero or that heroine, and you are fighting this dragon, or you are saving the day, or you're working in a team, you're going through these dungeons, whatever. Like, you can get lost in that game. Well, imagine if it just got more immersive than that. Like, there's no reason why we couldn't get like lost in good ways and bad ways in VR and AR. And that means that we're just going to entertain ourselves and learn things and educate ourselves more immersively. And that's where it's all headed. Is we're gonna merge into this virtual world.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're an intern pursuit employer, and you have some interns that are working with you.
Yeah.
What have it's always I go to them and I go, well, what did you learn? What was the what I learned moment for you? And I'm starting to ask this of employers. What did you learn from working with interns that you went, wow, they either taught you something or you learned something about yourself, and you went, okay, I need to change this. No matter what it is, not necessarily yourself personally,
Yeah.
but interacting with people.
So I do think that there's tons you can learn, and every company that uses Intern Pursuit is going to be a little bit different. There's companies that are bigger, some companies that are smaller. Um, I think I realized it's more of a I don't know what's the right word to use, but you forget what it's like to be an intern yourself.
Yeah, you forget. You and I were talking about that.
You get enough years removed from graduating from college, that you just forget, because you end up gaining so much experience after you graduate college, that you forget what is not matter of fact.
Yeah.
Nowadays there's things that I do and it's second nature. It's matter of fact. I would expect any one of my peers, anybody, to just kind of know that this is what needs to be done, or this is what's good, and this is what's bad, and this is what's better, and what's best. But and it's because like maybe we've experienced things 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, like, or all the time. But you know what? Like when you're in college, this is the first time you're experiencing this in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And really your context and sometimes what you're learning in college is maybe either theory, it's not always like practical.
Right.
You hear stories of
All
things.
the book stuff, the case studies.
Yeah, you might watch videos on YouTube, or you might even just think about things that happen on TV and movies. But like you don't have the real world practical knowledge, and so it's not second nature. And sometimes when you're like, how did you not get this like so soon, or why do I have to explain things so robustly or verbosely? And it's because, you know what, like they're experiencing this for the first time.
You have to remember, it's like your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the best things that I think I've learned is from teaching Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
I taught 2 and 3 year olds. And from that, I learned, wow, there is, they just love life. They love it big, but they're constantly exploring. And I took that to when I began teaching adult learners, and I went, we make an assumption
Mm-hmm.
because we've been doing something for a while that other people, like what you're saying, it's second nature. They, I'm going to use Robin here as the example.
Sure.
Robin didn't know about any of the platforms that we used, whether it's Google Suite or Asana or like how we do all of this. And so Robin comes in, she's like that new little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be able, as the employer, nurture and make sure that she's learning, what
Yeah.
she came here to learn.
Mhm.
That requires time. It's about investing into the other people. And that's also called a relationship. So, it's where we begin to interact with each other. And I think that's where the real transference of peer and reverse mentoring takes place.
Yeah.
But I've worked and talked to other employers too, and they go, well, I would think they know how to answer the phone. I said, no, you expect them to come in and know, first off, the job that they just got a job description for. You want them to know your office. And if you don't have anything documented, how are they supposed to know how to do it? Then we're going to work remote on top of it. And then they're supposed to navigate an industry they know nothing about. They've only, read about. And then people will also think, oh, yeah, they know social. Yeah, they know how to use it on a personal level. They don't know how to use it in business.
Right.
Right.
So there's so much. And then navigating personalities,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And being able to go, oh, I need to speak up. I need to get my voice out there so that, we as the mentors and the older people in the company need to be able to say, okay, what is your idea? And really listen to them. For me, those are like all my takeaways.
Agreed. I think you can definitely learn a ton from interns, and likewise, they can learn a ton from you. And it's a case of on both sides, there's tons that can always be improved. You will learn new methods and new ways and new ways of looking at things through the eyes of someone that's younger and fresher and doesn't have, definitely they're not jaded yet. Not that I'm
No
saying jaded,
baggage.
no baggage.
Yeah.
And they just have a new perspective on things. And as much as we like to say that we're always going to be innovative, there's always like this almost like scar tissue forming in our brain of like, well, that's just not how it's going to work because I've never seen it work that way before. And that just builds and accumulates. But somebody that's coming fresh is like, well, I don't know why it wouldn't work that way. And sometimes they're right. And
I agree.
And so having that it keeps you young, and it should hopefully make you do more innovative things. And in turn, you understand that like, hey, they're learning this for the first time, so it teaches more patience to you. And it also highlights like where you might be having gaps in the way that you communicate to others. And now you realize I need to do more and say more because maybe it isn't matter of fact. So I think like that's something I've learned is that like, well, there's more I need to do in order to truly communicate all the information that's necessary. And I'm also learning that you can actually accomplish a whole lot more than maybe you might even expect because these interns are younger and have a perspective on how to do things that you just maybe don't have. So it's a two-way street. I think like there's a lot that both sides can learn from each other, and definitely, I think it's good to set up a relationship where these interns that I'm with now, you know, I'll
We'll give a
maintain.
little shout out to him, William, Francesca, Logan.
Yeah, the three of them are great. And I'll maintain a relationship with the both, with the three of them as much as they want to. So 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if they're like, hey, I noticed that you're connected on LinkedIn to this person, I'll make an intro. The people that I know, like I'm happy to share that, with that next generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it's one of those things like if you take advantage of the connections and things that you have in front of you, um, it'll take you further. But if you don't,
Yeah.
you're just not moving forward.
So I'm going to put Robin on the spot here. She's not going to see this coming. She's going, oh no, oh no. So Robin, what is your what I learned moment for you, and what advice would you pass on over here to us, or what do you think that Kunal and I have said that's relevant to where you are, like where you were when you first came in and where you are now?
Definitely, like I've learned how to like coordinate with others and working like with a team of other interns towards like the common goal. Working with the marketing team since I'm like the assistant producer, making sure that everyone is on the same page and um, making sure that everything is organized so that we can publish everything at the correct time and communicate with our guests and so on. Um, but definitely it was a great learning experience, and having an internship definitely helps um, for like my upcoming career that I
She's
may have.
graduating soon. She's
Yeah,
got another semester here.
yeah,
Oh,
next
yeah.
semester.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So do you think that most employers are not necessarily thinking of like what it's like to be an intern? Do you think that's and I don't know if you can say, did I do that?
Oh, not at all. No, you were great. I really, yeah, you were
I'm not
definitely.
trying to set myself up.
Yeah, no, you were definitely very like patient with all of us, especially with me. Like, working to make sure that I fully understood how to do everything, and if I made a mistake, you would just go over it again with me, and then I would just progress from there. I definitely thought, like, I think most internship coordinators, I think they do have empathy for the interns and that they're new and that it's a learning process for them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think just
Hmm.
patience is key, and
Hmm.
just having that empathy and putting yourself in their shoes, and helping them to have the best learning experience, as well as having them be the best of employee that they can be for your company.
So were you ever an intern, Kunal?
um, it's
I
yeah,
imagine you
it's
were
like
doing it like
I
at
feel like it's so
12.
strange, like
You
because
seem
it's
like
like
you've always
I
been an
should know this. I
entrepreneur.
feel like I've always had internships, but they weren't called internships. It was just like I've always been entrepreneurial, so I always kind of
Volunteer, maybe.
volunteered and took on roles everywhere that I could, even from my teenage years. And I know maybe that's not common,
Oh, it
but
is now.
it is now.
Yeah.
It is now, and so it's like this next generation is going to be so much better than the current ones.
Yeah.
But like, no, I cannot think of like a super formal internship that I had myself, but I definitely had tons of different like jobs and shadowing things that I've done through my teenage years, and working in a computer shop, working on networking and servers, at like hotel groups, uh, you know, working in a shop, um, in plastic manufacturing, doing software, and then eventually became a role. So I mean, like there's definitely been a lot of learning experiences I've had. I guess you could say that those could have been internships if I went
Hmm.
the more formal internship route.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I just went and grabbed them like wherever I could find them.
What would you say was the best mentoring advice you've received and that you would want to pass on to others?
There's a lot of advice that I've gotten over the years. Some of it is just almost like a way of thinking. When I studied computer science, what I found the thing that helped me the most was it taught me how to learn. And so being able to break problems down into small pieces. But it wasn't until like I actually like got into like a real business and kind of got a real world MBA, and talking to some people, and I remember getting this piece of advice of never sacrifice good on account of the best. So if you're a perfectionist and you try to get everything perfect, sometimes like you will waste a lot of time, or you may not be able to have what I would consider as